I feel like I've been slapped by polygamy.
Oh.
It's hard not to be bitter about the fact that I bought off on it and did it, because in the end, in the last moments of it.
Welcome back to the channel. It's Friday, May 5th, 2025, and we're diving deep into the latest emotional news from the world of sister wives. If you thought the Brown family was finally settling down, think again. This episode has a new set of revelations that will totally flip everything you thought you knew on its head. In the most recent episode, Kody Brown had a chat with Robyn to discuss what seemed like a positive step: his relationship with his kids getting better. Everything looked to be on the right track on the surface, but as always with the Browns, appearances can be deceiving. That's where it gets even more interesting. Right after watching the episode, McKelty and Tony headed to Patreon to offer their blunt opinion, and their impression paints a dramatically different picture. According to them, while Kody's relationship with his kids might have been mending then, things have actually taken a turn for the worse since they left Utah and migrated to North Carolina. Why the change? Well, McKelty and Tony were often the middle ground between Kody and the rest of the family members, being the go-betweens not only for Christine, but for the other siblings too. But once they stepped away from that position, that relationship began to break down. And after the terrible death of Garrison, things seemingly got even worse. This is where the truth hurts. Kody may be telling us everything is fine, but McKelty reveals that, in the moment, the relationships are shattered, and they won't mend until Kody takes a long, hard look at himself. Tune in, because this next clip cuts deep. As McKelty sees it, genuine reconciliation will not start until her father assumes full responsibility for the things he's said, the hurt he's inflicted, and the hurtful manner in which he's described his children on national TV. The cruel words he's spoken about both his children and their mothers have left scars that run deep, and it's those same words, not the actions of the other women, that have alienated his children. So, while Kody points fingers elsewhere, McKelty says the truth is clear. The distance between him and his kids is the result of his own behavior, and unless he's willing to own up to it, those relationships may never heal. Don't go anywhere, because what comes next could redefine everything we've seen so far in this ongoing family saga.
I hate it when my dad lumps all of his kids into one group and says, like, all of my kids blank, all of my kids this, my kids all whatever. I hate it. I wish that he would distinguish between us all, but I think he does it to protect us.
Let's talk about the reality behind Kody Brown's relationships with his kids. And spoiler alert, things haven't improved. In fact, since the heartbreaking loss of Garrison, those relationships have reportedly grown even more strained. And now, it appears Kody is quietly surrendering in one major legal battle: custody and child support for his daughter, Truly. In a surprising twist, Kody and Christine appeared in a Utah court just yesterday and reached a settlement agreement regarding child support and compliance. Now, here's the kicker. This marks a significant change from just a few months ago. The details of the agreement haven't been made public, but what we do know is that something shifted between September and now. Back then, Christine filed for custody, parenting time, child support, and even paternity. And rather than cooperating, Kody responded by filing a countersuit, something that left many fans confused and even angry. So why did he fight back so hard in the first place? Many, including myself, believe it had less to do with parenting and more to do with avoiding child support. After all, at that point, Kody had no real relationship with Truly, and filing a countersuit seemed petty, even cruel. But now, it looks like he's backed down, possibly realizing he had no case to begin with. Here's where things get more technical, but also more telling. As part of the settlement process, both Kody and Christine had to submit detailed financial documentation to the court. This included pay stubs, 1099 forms, and full tax returns. They also completed a child support worksheet to determine the final payment amount. That number was based on Utah's official child support guidelines, taking into account whether custody was sole, joint, or split. But there's another critical factor at play. Truly is now 15 years old, and that changes everything. Under Utah law, a child her age can express a preference about where she wants to live, and that could carry significant weight. So even if Kody claims he wants to be more involved, the burden is on him to prove he's established a real connection with her. And judging by his recent statements on the show, that's clearly not the case. In fact, during the most recent episode, Kody openly admitted he doesn't have much of a relationship with his children. He blamed it on not being present in their homes, pointing fingers at his wives and ex-wives for the lack of connection. But when he mentioned traveling to Utah, supposedly to visit Mykelti and Truly, it felt like he was attempting to rewrite the narrative, maybe even laying the groundwork for a legal argument of alienation. But here's the truth. You can't claim to be alienated from a child you've made little effort to bond with, and no legal strategy can undo years of distance and emotional neglect. So, what does this mean going forward? That remains to be seen. But if this settlement tells us anything, it's that Kody may finally be realizing the consequences of his choices, and whether this marks the start of accountability or just a quiet exit from the courtroom, only time will tell. Kody Brown has repeatedly claimed that his broken relationships with his children are the result of alienation, that Christine pushed him out, and that's why he's so disconnected. But here's where reality hits back hard. Once a child reaches a certain age, they're legally allowed to voice their preferences in court. And in Truly's case, the writing on the wall likely wouldn't have favored Kody. Let's be honest. Had this case gone to trial, it could have gotten very messy. All the details Kody might have preferred to keep buried would have come pouring out. The truth about how uninvolved he's been in Truly's life, the fact that she nearly lost her life under his care, the shocking claim that he didn't even cover her insurance during her hospitalization. And let's not forget how Christine was left to carry the burden alone after Truly was born. These aren't minor oversights. They paint a picture of long-term neglect. From the very beginning, Kody never made the effort to build a real bond with his daughter, and that void didn't go unnoticed. Truly found her emotional anchors elsewhere. She was deeply connected not only to Christine, but also to her older sisters. Aspen and Mykelti were instrumental in helping Christine care for Truly during her early years. And when they moved out, Gwendolyn and Isabel seamlessly stepped into that role. This support system mattered. It shaped Truly's upbringing and gave her consistent love, stability, and guidance, something Kody couldn't or wouldn't provide. So, when you look at it from the court's perspective, there's simply no argument to make. Truly has a strong bond with her mom, a stable home environment, a loving stepfather, and her entire extended family rooted in Utah. Isabel is there. Aspen is there. And speaking of Aspen, she recently announced that she and her husband Mitch are expecting their first child. That's right. Aspen revealed her pregnancy during a local Fox segment for Mother's Day, where she was showcasing gifts from Kendra Scott. Not only is this a milestone moment for her, but it also adds another layer of closeness for Truly, who now gets to be part of this joyful new chapter with her big sister. So when you piece it all together, it's clear. Truly's heart and home are in Utah, and no legal maneuvering or narrative spinning can change the fact that she's chosen her people, and they've never let her down. From what it looked like, Aspen seemed pretty far along in her pregnancy, possibly 6 or 7 months. So, huge congratulations to Aspen and Mitch on their growing family. But this milestone also highlights a deeper issue, the powerful familial bonds that Truly shares in Utah, which would be nearly impossible for Kody to override at this point, and it gets even more telling. In the same Patreon conversation, Mykelti and Tony gave further insight into Kody's strained ties with his children, particularly those living in Utah. According to Tony, Kody rarely even visits the state. The reason? Robyn. He explained that whenever Kody travels, Robyn reportedly puts a tremendous amount of emotional pressure on him, guilt-tripping him to the point where he feels punished just for going. Tony referred to it as the cost of going. The guilt is so intense, Kody limits how often he travels, out of fear of upsetting Robyn, who stays behind with her own children. But this is the life she signed up for, isn't it? Robyn knew Kody had kids with other women. That's a conversation for another day, but the consequences of that dynamic are showing up in real time. So, how often does Kody actually see truly? McKelty and Tony say maybe a couple times a year, at most, and even those rare visits, almost always coordinated through someone else. Kody has consistently relied on his older children to act as intermediaries just so he could connect with Truly. There's no independent bond. There's no meaningful relationship, and that distance is painfully obvious. Then there was another revelation that left fans stunned. This past Valentine's Day, Ariella, Kody, and Robyn's daughter was gifted an elaborate vanity set, a grand gesture. So naturally, someone asked, did Truly get anything for Valentine's Day? The answer, a blunt no. Not only did she not receive a similar gift, McKelty and Tony aren't even sure she got a phone call or a simple card. McKelty went a step further and called out the lie in Kody's narrative. She said their family never did big gifts on Valentine's Day, even when they started to have more money. At most, the girls would get boxes of chocolates. That extravagant vanity? Totally out of character for Kody, and likely an exception he made for Ariella, further widening the emotional divide between his children. They also touched on Kody's bragging about the money he puts into the Coyote Pass property. But as McKelty pointed out, you didn't pay for your kids. You relied on your wives to do that. And that's the hard truth. Kody may boast about financial investments, but he neglected his most fundamental responsibility, providing for his children. Now, for the first time ever, he's being legally held to account. Up until yesterday, Kody had never been subject to a formal child support ruling. But under Utah law, both parents have a legal obligation to support their minor children unless the child is emancipated. And child support doesn't end until the child turns 18 or graduates high school, whichever comes later. In certain cases, like with a disabled child, that support can even extend beyond 18. And once the court orders it, there's no room for negotiation. All parties must comply, period. This marks a major turning point in the sister-wives saga, not just legally, but emotionally. Kody Brown can no longer escape the consequences of his choices, and now his finances and his role as a father are finally under the microscope. Under Utah law, things are very clear when it comes to court orders regarding child support and parenting time. Custodial parents, like Christine, cannot withhold parenting time, even if the non-custodial parent fails to pay child support. And likewise, a non-custodial parent like Kody cannot withhold child support, even if parenting time is denied. These two issues are legally separate, and both must be followed without exception. If either party refuses to obey a court order, the other can file a motion to enforce it. And that's where things get serious. An enforcement order could include a judgment for unpaid support, and if the court finds a parent in contempt, they can impose fines or even jail time. So now that a formal child support order has been entered, Kody Brown has no choice but to stay compliant. He has a monthly payment due, and if he fails to make those payments, Christine has every legal right to go back to court and file for enforcement. And beyond that, she can go through Utah's Office of Recovery Services, which helps custodial parents collect unpaid support. And here's where things can escalate. Under Utah law, criminal non-support is a charge that can be filed if a parent's arrears exceed $10,000 or if they go more than 2 years without paying. It can even become a felony offense under Utah Code Section 76-7-201. So let's be honest here. This entire journey has likely been exhausting and emotionally draining for Christine. She raised Truly without help from Kody. She supported her, nurtured her, and shouldered all the responsibilities, while Kody remained absent, not just physically, but financially. And this absence hasn't just affected Christine, it's had a profound emotional toll on Truly. Growing up without a present or supportive father figure, having to deal with that absence is no small thing. But here's the silver lining. Christine finally has legal leverage. For the first time, there's a formal system in place to hold Kody accountable. And with that system comes a very real, very serious consequence: jail time if he doesn't comply. This is more than just a threat. It's a structured process designed to protect the child and ensure fairness. While many parents struggle for years, fighting court battles, facing non-payment, and dealing with the heartache of being unsupported, Christine now has something powerful on her side: the law. And Kody, he's officially on notice. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Bye, guys.